As many of you know, in addition to my speaking, I'm also a professional headshot photographer. I started doing photography a few years ago when I was doing a lot of individual consulting and realizing that almost without fail, most of my clients needed a new picture for their social media profiles, such as LinkedIn. You see, too many people make the mistake of using a picture that's too old, maybe 10 years old or 20 pounds ago, maybe a photo they had taken at a wedding or at a birthday party, or maybe, worst of all, a selfie. And instead of outsourcing the photography, I decided to start doing it for my clients. And a couple of years down the road, I have had a chance to photograph several hundred people, which brings me to the topic of today's video: not being camera ready. Something that never ceases to amaze me is how unprepared people are at networking events. Now, you might wonder, what's a networking event? You know, anytime you are out talking to other human beings, you really are networking. I don't care if it's at the grocery store, in line at the 7-Eleven, in line at the airport, at a formal professional networking event. It doesn't matter. You're always networking because you're always representing your brand. And one of the things that I hear a lot is, oh gosh, I'm not camera ready, or I wasn't ready for this. I forgot to put my makeup on. And the worst one is, boy, I'm just not dressed for pictures. So with that in mind, I'd like to give you 3 tips that will help you always be prepared to being camera ready. Tip number 1, always plan ahead of time. That's right, I plan my wardrobe ahead of time, usually over the weekend when I'm looking at the week ahead of me. I look to see what events I'm attending, what meetings I have, what social activities I may have, and with whom. So for example, I like to sport a 2 or 3 day growth, but if it's a day where I'm presenting formally at a workshop or a keynote, whatever it is, I will fully shave and wear a full suit and a great tie. I don't always do that, but if it's a different kind of event, I may just go without a tie, or even with jeans. Great looking jeans, but I will always dress them up with nice shoes, a nice dress shirt, and of course a sport coat. Now, speaking of ties, I want to thank my friend Michael over at Men's Finest in the UK for this awesome tie. I just received it. I will put the link to them in the description, but check them out. Great company. So again, plan ahead. Look at the weather, what meetings you have, anything that's going on that week, and be prepared because you do want to look your best. You don't want to dress last minute and think, oh gosh, I wasn't ready for today, or go to an event where you are sure to meet people who will ask who you are, what you do, and you don't feel quite comfortable in what you're wearing, anything like that. So always be prepared. Tip number 2, always dress the part. You know, you've heard it said a million times, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Well, you have to be careful a little bit with that. If you're a banker or a lawyer or some sort of a white-collar job where people are giving you their money or trusting you with their most personal affairs, you know what? You better look the part. On the other hand, if you're a blue-collar worker, then there is a set of rules for you in terms of wardrobe that you should also follow. And, you know, if you're going to go visit with a construction company, for example, wearing a full suit might definitely be out of place. So be careful in crossing that line from looking the part and crossing into looking like a used car salesman. Nothing wrong with used car salesman, mind you. It's an honorable profession. However, there is a negative connotation to the term, and you know it when you see it. When you see somebody who's trying too hard, or perhaps who just looks a little bit sleazy in how they dress and how they behave. So be careful in not crossing into that, into the cheesy, and keeping it professional and genuine to who you are and what you do. And finally, tip number 3. Always try to look a little bit better than the competition. Find a nice way to stand out from the crowd. So for example, for me, if I'm going to a formal event, not necessarily formal like a black tie, but a formal professional networking event, if I'm speaking somewhere, I will dress up my suit by putting a nice pocket square or maybe French cuffs with a nice pair of cufflinks, something that looks a little better than the rest, but again, not crossing into the cheesy aspect of dressing. So looking the part, looking professional, looking really great, so that people do notice a great looking pocket square or something that really sets you apart from the rest. For you ladies, for example, a beautiful scarf, maybe a colorful blazer, something that looks nice and appropriate for you, maybe a tailored suit. something that really does set you apart will take you a long way because you will stand out from the crowd. Keep in mind that most people are not doing this, or they're not thinking about this. And when you do, and when you look the part and you look great and you sound great, you automatically stand out from the crowd. So keep that in mind. Folks, we live in a media-driven world, a visually driven world. Anywhere you go, people are taking selfies. There's a professional photographer. Maybe there's a camera. Maybe there's video somewhere. Someone is always watching, right? So why not be prepared? If you go to an event and there's a professional photographer taking a headshot, the last thing you should be saying is, gosh, I wasn't prepared for this, or I'm not dressed for this, or I forgot to put my makeup on. Always look the part. It just makes no sense that people don't prepare and don't look the part when they're going to promote themselves, their company, or their own business. So there it is, 3 tips to always be ready, always be camera ready. Hey, we'll see you next time.